really.
But your style would lend a lot to like street photography too.
Yeah.
Do you like street?
Well, yeah, mate. I started my first gig was shooting the big day out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was shooting event, like when I say events, I was observing things like the big day out and rodeos and stuff like that. And I would just sort of turn up with my camera and just sort of cruise around and shoot, you know, and also very early on, I think, you know, when I first thought about the idea of maybe being a career photographer of some kind, photojournalism was something that was really interesting to me. You know, I wanted to write and shoot. And so the observational type of photography that I was shooting back then was really good. And I'm sort of almost going back there a little bit, even with some of the ways that I'm thinking about some of the fashion projects that I've got coming up, of lending that sort of, like, you look at the Bruce Davidson Subway series. I don't know if you're familiar.
I do.
Bruce. You know, that sort of observation, you know, the relationship of the 28mm lens with a, you know,
I love that.
You know, and I would look at Gary Winogrand and Robert Frank and all of that sort of stuff back then. Cartier-Bresson, of course, you mentioned earlier.
I used to love those. There's I think Robert Drosnew.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I used to love his work, and even Gordon Parks, who eventually became a director.
Yeah.
But I loved his work in, you know, those in the I think it was 50s Black America.
Yeah.
60s
amazing.
Black America with Ali. Even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that sort of stuff.
So that's kind of when I, you know, started to hone in on photography as a thing. That's where I started. You know, I started with Gary Winogrand and Robert Frank. I started, you know, reading books like
Robert Frank's great.
Yeah, you know, and then I would sort of take reference and say, okay, I'm going to read On the Road. You know, I'm going to go out and shoot some pictures that look like the book.
Yeah,
that I've just
true.
read, you know,
true.
So I would go out and sort of get into that. You know, it would sort of, because those books would take me to a certain place in my mind. You know, the pictures would just sort of start to come.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I would go out and buy a roll of, you know, 400 Tri-X and push it 3 stops and just walk around Perth at night taking pictures of lights and people on the street. And I would look, and I would go into the university dark room and print them. And I'm like, you know, here's 1950s America.